Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And yeah, we cover down on all of it. Like the dude just said, solid conservative and just plain right. Well, welcome to the Monday. This is the Monday. It's the best one you've got right now. It's the Monday. And welcome to it. It's a beautiful day outside. Although I see clouds forming. We had rain this afternoon. Hey, Boomer's on the board. I'm just talking to you, man. I just realized that and he said hello.
Just talking away. Hey, it's a good Monday.
How you doing?
I'm good.
Little man's got an all-star game tonight.
Tonight, baseball.
We
all-star.
need no rain.
No rain tonight. That's what we're hoping for.
That's good.
It's going to be fun.
That's good. Is he ready?
Oh, he is more than ready right now.
Are you ready?
I am totally ready. I can't wait.
All right. Hey, we got a great show for you. Coming up 4 o'clock, my buddy Jeff Poore, who is the editor-in-chief at 1819 News, ran a very interesting story over the weekend. And I contacted him and said, dude, I think you need to come on and just spitball this with me for a little bit. It's a weird story, y'all, about legislators apparently all chipping in to fund a nonprofit that would then help them with redistricting, but I have to question how that really works. Anyway, we'll talk about that at 4 o'clock with Jeff Poore. In the meantime, I got a full-on triple dipper, so hit it.
The Triple Dipper. 3 stories you've got to know.
That's right, the Triple Dipper, 3 stories, 3 themes, if you will, that you got to know as we run today's show. So number 1, right out the gate, I'm calling it kid stuff. Don't take the lighthearted name for granted, all right? Kid stuff. I'm talking about the things that the world is attempting to do to kids and why the narrative is what it is. Why is it that right now the most popular movie out of Hollywood is the one, Sound of Freedom, that is drawing attention to the issue of pedophilia and child trafficking, and yet liberals don't want you to watch it? Why would that be? Why is that the narrative? And so we'll talk about that and kind of couch it in some other issues. But number 1 on the Triple Dipper, kid stuff. Stand by for that. Number 2, I didn't get to it Friday, so I hung on to it and I found some more resources to even augment it. Number 2, AI is here. So, man, I'm telling you, we got to get a handle on this. So AI is everywhere. I think we may find that AI has been places we didn't know it already was, but more and more it's becoming a question of how prevalent it is, what it's capable of, and where the limits are. So yeah, number 2 on the Triple Dipper, stand by for that. AI is here. And then number 3, I'm just calling this monkey business. So we're going to have that conversation with Jeff Poore. When I was a kid, I don't know about y'all, but when I was a kid, if we were up to something, if like my grandfather would look at us and say, all right, what kind of monkey business is going on in here? That was his phrase. I don't know if that was just my family or everybody's family, but it was a phrase that basically meant, y'all are up to something. What is going on? Well, I got several stories, not the least of which is that one story that we're going to talk about with Jeff Poore, where you look at it and go, okay, what kind of monkey business is going on here, government officials? What are y'all up to there, Democrats and Republican parties? So let's talk about it. Monkey business, number 3 on the Triple Dipper. Hey, I'm going to head into my monologue, and I want to remind you now that our monologue has now been sponsored by Southern Immediate Care, a chain of clinics that are open 24/7, 7 days a week, but they're all over the Birmingham area with 2 new locations in Chelsea and Hoover. They serve all ages, and they are now taking walk-ins all over. Southern Immediate Care. All right, hey, listen, let me jump right in. So I've decided I'm going to do something this week. A little different. It's not like I haven't done it before. I've just never done it in a concerted fashion. My monologue every single day this week, I'm going to use a movie as the backdrop for it. I'm going to literally take some time to draft my monologue, which I write every day, and I'm going to use a movie as the backstop. I mean, movies are really just storytelling, right? Stories are how we communicate best sometimes. They can be like simple entertainment, but the best movies are the ones that inspire and motivate or move you in some way. And if you think about it, storytelling is what Jesus did by using parables. Reagan, he was also a great communicator. He could paint a picture with words, tell a story, get his point across. Well, I'm no Reagan, and I'm certainly no Jesus, but I see those examples, and that's why I often make my monologue points by telling a story or weaving a mental image. So yeah, this week, I'm going to use movies every day this week is my plan to make my point. And this week, I'm starting off with The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson. Boomer's already into it. I'm hoping you've all seen it, The Patriot. It's a great movie. It came out in the year 2000. The Patriot storyline is set in the Revolutionary War. Gibson's character is a plantation owner. He's a member of the Continental Delegation from South Carolina. The movie is fictional, but it's loosely based on the actual combined real-life heroes of Francis Marion, Thomas Sumter, Daniel Morgan. So in the movie, war is brewing. South Carolina's leadership is heavily debating whether or not to urge the Continental Congress to declare war on Great Britain or not. But Gibson's character is a veteran of the French and Indian War, and he's still jaded from his time in battle. He's a widower, and he's raising 7 children on his own. And he's determined to stay neutral and to keep his sons from joining the fight. So he winds up being one of the few votes against a call to arms. Now, you've got a man who has a proven record of being willing to fight. He's been in the fray. But he sees his own children and he thinks, not this time. I'll stay neutral. I won't take a stand one way or the other. And because I don't take a stand, my children will be safe. Or so he thought. So Gibson's oldest son left home on his own and joined the Continental Army. His next son begs to be let go, but Gibson won't have any of it. And there's a pivotal moment in the movie when the children could hear the sounds of battle not far from their home one evening. You could see the flash of cannon fire in the waning light of day. It was a scary thing, but it was still out there until it wasn't. Soon after that, Gibson's oldest son stumbles into the house bleeding from a wound he had suffered in a battle just over the horizon from his own home. And by morning, the front porch and the yard around the house were covered up with wounded soldiers, both British and American. Now, I won't go into all the details, but suffice to say that the war had been kept at bay, but yet it came to Gibson's house anyway. And the next morning when British dragoons arrived, they killed his second oldest son, and they led his oldest son away into captivity. And the enemy set his house and barn on fire, and they left Gibson and his 2 remaining sons and 2 young daughters grieving in the ruins. So let me stop here and make my first point. Y'all, in real life right now, with us, you and I, there's a war going on all around us. Right now. It's a culture war. It's a war for our values. Some would say it's a war for our very way of life, and I'm not being overly dramatic. Take a look around you and tell me I'm wrong. If you're a conservative, if you're a Christian, then you are the target of the most strident and avaricious liberalism ever allowed to gain a foothold in our country since the day it was founded. And truth be told, that war is targeting our kids, our homes, and our way of life. So if you want to stay neutral and try to stay out of it, like Gibson's character did, well, that may only go so far. Sooner or later, the sounds of the cannons in the distance might be right there on your front steps. And the enemy doesn't care a whit for your neutrality. They only want your surrender. And if you won't fight back and stand for what you believe, then they'll just take your children anyway. So there's a scene later in the movie as Gibson's character is discussing the state of things and the loss of his oldest son, or second oldest son, I mean. And the discussion is with a woman who plays a main part in the movie, and she looks at him and she says, "You have done nothing for which you should be ashamed." To which Gibson replied, "I have done nothing, and for that I am ashamed." So I was discussing this movie with a pastor the other day, and he pointed out that the next part of the scene where the British had just killed Gibson's son and led his other one off to be hanged, with his house on fire, Gibson came to himself and he ran into the house. He ran up the burning steps to the attic. He dragged an old chest out of its place and he began to retrieve his weapons of war. He grabbed up rifles and powder and ball, and he ran back down the steps to his children. And what he did then caused some liberal heads to explode in modern America. He armed 2 of his sons, and he reminded them what he had taught them about shooting. He told them, aim small, miss small. And they took off after the enemy to rescue the oldest son. Now listen, I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who have not seen it, but let me just first say the next several minutes of the fight that ensued between Gibson, his 2 young boys, and a platoon of British soldiers was an epic moment in movie history. But let's dissect that scene for the point that needs to be made now. You see, the war came to his home. Even though he had not taken a stand, even though he had not provoked the enemy, even though he had chosen not to take any action, the war came anyway. And the fact that he tried to stay out of it and took no stand to protect his children resulted in the loss of one of his children and the captivity of another. But the fight was by no means over. His boys had been raised with some values. He had taught them some skills along the way. He had armed them. And then so equipped, he led them, and he took the stand that perhaps he should have taken all along. My point is this, not that I'm calling you today to actual arms. This is not that. But I am saying there's a fight going on. I am saying that there's a war that says that what is right is wrong and what is wrong is now right. A cultural fight that demands that we capitulate and move to the left right now. It's all around us. And some of you have already likely suffered some losses in that fight. But we need to equip our children to understand what is right and what is wrong. We need to give them the tools of faith and character and confidence and love and assurance and of values and of the ability to see wrong and call it wrong and to know that they are all right for being right. And we need to give them an example of an adult who cares enough to stand in the gap for them, to stand for what we believe, and to tell the world that they will not bring the fight to our homes. Not at all, because if they do, it will go badly for them. So yes, The Patriot's a great movie. It's a great movie. But it's an analogy for our times today. So let's not be that man or woman who feels shame later for having done nothing. Protect the kids. Teach them to aim small and miss small. That's a wrap for the Right Side Way. Well, there you have it. And I'll try and do that every day this week with a different movie and a different point. But that one right there, this pastor and I were having that conversation. And he specifically said that scene reminded him that the war will come to you anyway if you try to stay neutral, that you may have to take a stand. And oh, by the way, you may have to equip the children for the fight. How about that? Phil Williams, Right Side Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative, just plain right, saving the world, one soundbite at a time. All right, Boomer, admit it. The Patriot. You like that one?
Oh, incredible. Yes, absolutely. I love that movie.
It was Braveheart on American soil.
Yes.
In fact, you know what, though? And I know I'm about to do a spoiler alert, but when I saw, at the end of Braveheart, I kept thinking, surely they're not going to let William Wallace die. But then again, he did die in real life. So I guess that part was true to life. But when they came down to the end of The Patriot, I was like, no. Not two movies now, not two. So anyway, Mel Gibson's always been one of my favorite actors.
Oh, absolutely. And that last scene that you were talking about just a second ago, I
yeah.
just remember watching that for the first time and going, there's no way. And then at the end of it, that victory, I stood up and was just, I was so pumped.
Yeah, that was good stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of folks that want to go, the British were like really mad, like, that is not the way things went. Sorry, you lost. We get to write the script.
That's right.
Yeah, by golly. Hey, actually, I guess, what's Mel Gibson got against the British? He did Braveheart, and he also did The Patriot.
He did.
Yeah. Oh, he's Australian, that's why. Australia, I mean, they're still getting over the fact they were originally a penal colony.
So he's holding a little grudge.
But they are the only country that has its own continent. Isn't Australia a continent? Am I right to say a subcontinent? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Now I got to
okay,
look.
I just said that in front of 30,000 people. I'm like, oh, God, I hope I got that right. But I think so. Hey, while Boomer looks that up to verify my information, is Australia a continent? And some of y'all are going to text me before you can even get to it, I know. The phone lines, the text lines are indeed open, 833-687-4448. That's 833-68-RIGHT. I mean, they are already jamming. JT Lacey Springs says, every day your monologue brings the memory likeness of Paul Harvey to air. Oh, thank you, brother. I'll take that all day long. Did you find it, man?
Australia is both a continent and a country.
Aha! Aha! Jeremy from Huntsville just says, excellent intro. Thank you, sir. John from Huntsville. Taking me to a website, which I will have to check out later. So thank you, John. I appreciate it. And he says, yes, Australia is a continent. Thank you, brother. Allie from Athens, who just texted me also and said that she saw The Patriot just before they came home from Mexico, and it just blew her away. She goes, and who can forget the scene when Susan actually decides? I'm going to tell you right now, Allie, I can't talk about that scene. When by the way, in real life, that little girl died of a drug overdose. In real life, she did. It was sad, very sad. Talk about talented. When that scene where she decided, I'm stealing Allie's text, but yes, I can't hardly watch that scene. Woo! Dang.
Stop.
Move on.
Move on, yes.
Yeah, Wiley from Gunnersville says, excellent monologue. I'm sure you remember when the common mantra among us who just wanted to be left alone was, I don't care what my neighbors do behind closed doors or in their bedrooms. That's a large part of what's got us to where we are today. It doesn't stay behind their closed doors or their bedrooms. It's being pushed upon us daily, and the fight has been brought to us. Now we have no choice but to fight back. May God give us the wisdom. May God guide us to the other side, whatever that may be, he says. Man, what a great text. Wiley, good stuff, man. Appreciate you. Steve from Huntsville gives me a quote from the movie, Dog is a Fine Meal. That was a good scene. They're in the swamps. They're eating dogs. Dog is a fine meal. Brian from Huntsville just says, Angel Studios, Provo, Utah. Hollywood hates them. Sound of Freedom is a rock-solid movie. Saw it yesterday. There you go. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Thank you, brother. Tracy from Athens says, well, my text line decided to reboot themselves right as I was hit it. Tracy from Athens says, y'all make Mondays awesome. Thank you, Tracy. Actually, y'all make the Mondays awesome. We just talk, and y'all are there, and you're the reason why we do it. All right, listen, plenty more where that came from. We got stuff. So yeah, y'all hang tight, and we will see where it all goes. But coming up next, I'm going to jump right in to the first part of the Dippers. I'm calling it Kid Stuff, which is not at all meant to be truly a lighthearted title. Because what I'm going to talk about now, I'm going to go straight from that monologue, and I'm going to go into things that we have to be aware of, things you have to think about, things like who's setting the trends and why are our kids such a target right now? And why is it that this movie, which is truly resonating with the American public because it's outpacing all Indiana Jones and everything else in the theaters, why is it that liberals don't want you to watch that movie, Sound of Freedom? We'll talk about it. It's an interesting dynamic. Interesting to say the least. But, yeah. All right, listen. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, and a lot more where that came from. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. That would be this one. That would be Alabama. I'm talking about this show goes way on down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi. Thrown in just for good measure. Hey, I'm in number one of the Triple Dipper, all right? We're going to stay on this for a little bit, and y'all are welcome to call in or text in with your thoughts. So here's the thing. I called this section Kid Stuff. Go ahead and take that as a direct segue straight off of my monologue I did a moment ago. All right? The notion that there is a war ongoing right now. Well, who's setting the stage for this? Who is the one saying, this is the way we're going to wind up, coming for their kids. This is how we're going to deal with it. These are the things we're going to try and say and do to change the narrative. Who's out there? Who's doing this? Well, let me just tell you, the first thing that I came to, and I have to call this out, I don't usually talk about politicians' families. I think it's kind of off limits, generally speaking, Hunter Biden being an exception. But this situation, which is kind of a Hunter Biden situation, directly goes to my point today that there is a war out there that we have to take a stand against. We have to speak to it. We have to deal with it. We have to resist it. It will come to your doorstep whether you want it to or not. So you might as well go ahead and prepare to take the stand. And oh, by the way, when you do, equip the kids. Let me just, before I even get into my first story, let me just say something about that. What does that mean, equip the kids? I mean, think about it. It's, first of all, how you raise them is important. Yes, absolutely. Raise up a child in the way they should go when they get old, they will not depart from it. We hear that from Proverbs, and we know it to be true. You instill things in them when they were young. It will stand them well when they get older. They need that from you. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because I got a bunch of y'all out there that totally get it, and you do it better than I do. But that being said, there's also the fact that go one step further. Let them know, son, when you go to school, daughter, when you go to dance class or whatever, when you're out with your friends, here's the thing. Someone's going to come back to you and they're going to say, I've got a friend who identifies this way. I've got a friend who said his parents smoked dope and said it's okay. I've got a friend who tells me that I need to do this, that, or the other that I don't think I should do. Tell them it's okay to say no. I mean, and by the way, that's a conscious, intentional conversation. Tell them it's okay to have limits. It's not being oppressive. It's not being, I'm inhibiting their ability to discover the world for themselves. If they could discover the world for themselves every single day, they wouldn't need parents. God apparently set it up this way for a reason. So take the moment and have the conversation. No, son, if someone tells you that maybe you should try to identify as a girl, let them know your mom and dad love you as a boy and God made you that way and you're okay. You are okay. Just be okay, son. If we affirm a kid, by the way, don't you love the way they distort the English language? It's gender affirming care. No, it's not. It's gender denying care. That's what it is. It's not even care. It's gender denying treatment. How about that? You are denying the way they were made. And by the way, when you do that, you have basically just told that child, you're not right. You were wrong the moment you were born. Dang, I hate you came out wrong. We got to fix that. That is so awful. That is child abuse. There is such a thing as emotional abuse. When you tell it, if I were to walk up to your child on the street and look at him and say, you are one ugly kid, man. I mean, who hit you with the ugly stick when you were born? Ha, ha, ha. You would, some of y'all, I would have a hard time getting a chance to walk away from that conversation, and deservedly so. If someone walked up to your child and looked at him and said, dang, boy, you're about the dumbest kid I ever seen. You're never going to make it anything in life. You were born stupid. You're just wrong. I mean, everything about you is messed up. I guarantee you, some of you parents would be down there the next day finding the parents of that other child who bullied yours. And yet the world is allowed to say, hey, little boy, you're supposed to be a girl. Didn't you know that? Hey, yeah, apparently you were born wrong. God made a mistake when he made you. But don't worry, we can fix that. Folks, that crap's got to stop. But then there's the other side of it. There's not just what they do to our kids in that regard. There's also teaching your kids the intentional thing about, stranger danger. That don't laugh. Kindergarten cop had it going on. Stranger danger. You teach a kid, if that person approaches you in the street and you don't know who they are, you turn around and run away. If that person says, I've got something for you over here, or come with me, your mommy's calling you, I can help you find her, don't do it. We had a conversation with my son and daughter-in-law yesterday. They took their kids to our grandbabies to a new park they had never been to before, and they didn't like it because the park, the way it was set up, if the kids went and climbed on the playground, they would crawl through a tunnel and they could be out of sight, and you wouldn't know they were there out of sight of the park that exited onto another street. They said they were so stressed out, they went ahead and decided they weren't going back to that park. Yay. But what I'm saying is this. You got to equip your kids. And then, by the way, equip them to fight. Equip them to fight. Physical fight's one thing. How about this? We equip them to not only resist the notions, but equip them then to know that they can resist and resist and resist. If someone ever picks them up off the street, if someone ever tries to put them into a place of child trafficking, kick, scratch, claw, bite, your life is better for having fought back. Your life is better for having fought back. Climb out any window. Drop down over any fence. Go to the next person that you think you can get help from. Go ask, because the person who's holding you captive, they have not got your best interest at heart. So go ahead and get away and make them pay on the way. Teach your child to fight back. There's so much to be said. Listen, if you ever get a chance, you ought to go read some of the personal stories of the men who survived in the Hanoi Hilton in Vietnam. Some of them with 4, 5, 6, 7 years in captivity with torture and abuse. And what they discovered was, and I even had a survival instructor tell me at Fort Bragg, you better have some things ingrained before you get there. You better understand who it is you answer to as a higher power. In my case, it's Jesus. You better have those things ingrained before you get there, because when you get there, you're going to need it. That means they have to be ingrained before you get there. All right, that was like a whole separate rant, but let me do this real quick before we go to the break. I got line one, Sparky from Harbors. Hey, Spark, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, good show, Phil and Boomer.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, great points about teaching your kids to fight and fight back. When your core foundational values are what they are and you're willing to fight for them, sometimes you physically have to fight, like you said.
That's right.
To save your life from child traffickers. But to the topic of the pushing the transgender stuff down the throat of little kids, I think we see what the narrative is, who it comes from, and who the politicians are trying to pander to. And by the way, who in the pharmaceutical industry is trying to get filthy rich off of it. But I've had offline conversations with one or two really old friends from way back who happen to be gay and lesbian. Not a single one of them believes for 1 second that they're more than two genders. And I'm talking very, very much gay, voting, hardworking, tax-paying Americans. They don't believe it for a second. But when the far-left socialists who are in our universities teaching our kids right now, when they were kids, they took a delicious pleasure, delicious delight in rebelling against their conservative parents and the conservative religions that they felt oppressed them. And now they're heady with power right now because they're in a power inside the universities to shove this rebellious, deliciously ugly, vulgar nonsense down our kids' throats when even they don't believe it.
Yeah.
And the fact that they can willingly ruin these poor kids' lives and keep them from ever fathering or mothering children, it's kind of sickening.
It really is. And you talk about the universities, Spark. I'll jump ahead to the very last article in the stack that I've got here. I was glad to see that something had happened, but then the university backed off. University of Cincinnati had a professor that recently failed a student because they used the term biological woman in an assignment. And first they came back and reprimanded the teacher. Then they rescinded their reprimand. What kind of signal does it send when the kid gets, a failing grade, the professor gets a pass? It clearly indicates that the message is, student, you come last.
Well, you hit a good point. I kind of wish all the educators at all levels, K through 12 university, listening to your broadcast would call in over the next hour. I want to hear every one of them say, yes, I know for a fact there's only two genders. I teach science. I teach biology. But please, enlighten us. What are you being told by school administrators? What agenda is being shoved down your throat, and how much are you going to allow science to be perverted? The science you're supposed to be teaching our kids to be perverted by whatever this union shop-friendly nonsense agenda is. I want to hear from you teachers.
Yeah, no doubt. In fact, what's also aggravating that we say that is you'll have a biology class right down the hall from the English class that teaches how to use grammar, which includes pronouns, and you still have other teachers in the same building saying you can incorrectly use the pronouns and identify different than your biological sex. It's like this swirl of different stories in the same building.
Well, there's no wonder teachers are retiring at a certain age in great numbers right now. And we can't refill the ranks. There's a reason for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it ain't the pay and benefits, which they want to claim, the teachers union wants to claim all the time. It's because they're tired of getting fed the woke nonsense and the political crap. But
right.
Hey, Sparky, appreciate you, man. Up against the break. I'm going to have to go take it. All right. Have a good one, bud. I tell you what, Boomer, take the break right now. We'll do that. We'll come back. So I'm on this first one, kid stuff. Let me start at the very top. What sets the tone? Leadership. Who's at the top of the food chain right now? Well, that'd be Joe Biden. And I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, despite all of his Uncle Joe family-friendly hokum, he is no respecter of children. I'll tell you why. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Saving the world one soundbite at a time, making common sense a superpower. All right, hey, listen, by the way, we got a brand new texter in the string. Glad you're here. That's Durrell from Blount County. I appreciate you joining us. So, yeah, I'm in number one of the Triple Dipper, kid stuff, I'm calling it, kid stuff. Well, it's not lighthearted. It's not meant to be. I'm talking about the things that the world wants to do to kids, and then who sets the tone on that? Well, so let me just start with this. The person at the top of the social food chain, if you will, whether you like him or not, is going to be Joe Biden. Why? Because by virtue of his position, if nothing else, by virtue of his position, he's president of the United States. He's leader of the free world, allegedly. I'm not sure what he leads. I mean, the man couldn't lead his way out of a wet paper sack most days. But the reality is his position alone gives him what often referred to as the bully pulpit. It gives him the ability to set a tone. If he had any ounce of leadership, he could change a narrative just by leading. And that happens, and I've said before on the show that leadership, there's two types of leaders. There's leaders who are leaders by virtue of their position, Joe Biden. There's leaders who are leaders by the fact that they are gifted with the ability to convince people to go a certain direction that they might not have gone on their own, regardless of position. And you and I have all known them. I've seen them in the ranks of the military. Sometimes the platoon leader was not the true leader. Sometimes it was a guy in the ranks who could set the tone just by saying, yes, sir, roger that, sir, we're on it. And everybody else would go, he's on it, I'm on it too. That kind of guy exists. And it's guys and girls. But right now, Joe Biden is, by virtue of his position, able to sort of set a narrative. And one of the things that I think he's setting right now is a narrative that says that we don't have to respect children. We don't. We don't have to respect children. Why should we? He doesn't. Why should we respect kids? Why should we worry about child trafficking? Why should we worry about the feelings of children? He doesn't. Picture this. What kind of person knows he has a grandchild and refuses to acknowledge that grandchild in the eyes of the world? What kind of person does that? That's someone who's avoiding a situation. You know you have a grandchild. You have a seventh grandchild and you refuse to. It doesn't mean she has to come to the house every Sunday for, after church lunch. It doesn't mean that you have to go to her high school graduation. But maybe, just maybe you acknowledge she exists. Maybe you recognize that you have an opportunity here to speak into that child's life. Maybe, sir, you have the opportunity to show the world that when things happen and a child becomes the natural result of things happening, that you know what? You don't abandon the child, which is what he's done. He is a grandfather who has chosen to abandon a small child. Story here in the New York Post, this one of many I could have selected from. Biden accused of scarring Hunter's estranged 4-year-old daughter in a scathing New York Times op-ed. So yeah, New York Times, okay, it's getting real if New York Times is running this kind of an op-ed. President Biden was accused of scarring his son Hunter's estranged 4-year-old daughter with an ex-stripper, who the commander-in-chief refuses to acknowledge along with his 6 other grandchildren. In a column titled, "It's 7 Grandkids, Mr. President," Maureen Dowd excoriated the family-crazy 80-year-old president for cutting granddaughter Navy Joan Roberts, who is the child of Hunter and former stripper London Alexis Roberts from the Biden family tree. Joe Biden's mantra has always been that the absolute most important thing is your family. It's the heart of his political narrative. Empathy, born of family tragedies, has been his stock in trade, Dowd wrote, but yet callously scarring little Navy's life, just as it gets started, undercuts that. It's true. Think about it. If the tone for things is set at the highest level, and the highest level in the world is the President of the United States, and if the President of the United States is a person who knowingly refuses to acknowledge that he has a granddaughter, proven by paternity testing, proven by court action, proven by the fact that his son has acknowledged it and won't take part in her life, but will send, child support and give her some of his paintings. What kind of man is that would do that? And by the way, what kind of tone is he setting? Another piece here real quickly on that before I move on from it. Biden's cruel erasure of Navy Joan Roberts highlights his pro-abortion mentality. Keep in mind, he's also allegedly a strong practicing Catholic who, at the same time, is absolutely supportive of abortion, and not only abortion, but late-term abortion, and not only late-term abortion, but lots of it, and making it frequent and on demand. It doesn't have to be because of the risk to the life of the mother. No, he's for abortion on demand. Says perhaps it shouldn't be surprising that an abortion extremist like President Joe Biden, who has backed legislation that would make abortion legal over all 9 months of pregnancy, if the health of the mother is at risk, should view a seemingly unplanned child's life as disposable, not demanding that he step up as grandfather. So what we're seeing here is a guy who is at the top of the food chain right now, who is setting the tone, and that tone is, you don't have to respect kids. You don't even have to care about them. You don't even have to acknowledge them. Well, now that tone's being set at the highest levels, is it any wonder why liberals feel so empowered right now to tell us that what we see is not real, and that what they're doing is not a big deal, and that, oh, by the way, the #1 grossing movie in the United States is really just a conspiracy theory on video. We'll talk about it more when we get back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And yeah, like the dude just said, solid conservative and just plain right. I am in number one of the Triple Dipper. I'm calling it kid stuff. And it's not like meant to be, like I said earlier, a lighthearted euphemism. It's not. Talking about stuff that relates to our kids. Talking about why it's okay for liberals to come after kids with the most awful of dogmas and the most awful of intent. And for us to just go, oh, I'm sorry, you said there's nothing to see here? What was I thinking? And I believe the tone is set at the highest levels. I believe the fact that we have a liberal president of the United States right now who has proven himself not to be a respecter of children, I think that sets a tone. So right now, the movie Sound of Freedom. Boomer, you haven't seen it yet, have you? I mean, I know you guys got small children.
We haven't seen it yet, but we really want to.
You got to work around babysitting times.
That's right.
All that to say, Sound of Freedom is not only a good flick. I mean, like quality, like a good flick, like moving, like maddening, like inspiring, like the kind of movie you leave thinking about it. It's not only a quality movie, it's also a movie with a story. And it's a movie, by the way, that is getting a lot of attention from both sides of the aisle. Conservatives are like, yes, we need to do more. And the whole purpose of the movie, by the way, is to bring awareness to a real problem, child trafficking. There's somewhere anywhere around 10 million kids a year that are trafficked into prostitution and slavery and pornography. And it's an awful situation. And unfortunately, the statistics show that the United States is one of the worst in terms of having people with interests in children that are illicit. That being said, the Sound of Freedom movie is making waves. So it comes out, and it's like it's being crowdfunded in a sense. It's a populist movie. It's a grassroots movie. It doesn't have the huge Hollywood budget thrusting it out there with commercials running all the time, and no, it's a movie that has made grassroots waves, and it's in theaters with a limited run, but they'll run it more if more people will see it. Well, the word's getting out. Charlene and I went and saw it on its opening day, July 4th. And the theater was about half full. But at the end, Jim Caviezel, the guy who starred in it, is actually asking the audience, tell your friends. Tell them to come see this movie because the world needs to know for these kids. And the only way they'll know with this movie is if more people watch it. And so that was a direct appeal. That being said, I looked at it and I thought, man, not only is the movie good, but there's going to be people that are ticked off because I saw a meme yesterday and it said it well. Who are the only people that don't want you to talk about pedophiles and child traffickers? Well, that would be pedophiles and child traffickers. So you got to wonder why the libs are coming after this movie. Story here from townhall.com. Liberals fearmonger Americans into not seeing Sound of Freedom. Well, that should make you want to go see it, by the way. Says, despite what liberal media want you to think, the new hit film Sound of Freedom isn't about QAnon conspiracy theories or white supremacy. The anti-child trafficking movie released on the 4th of July dives deep into the disturbing world of child pedophilia, which the left has sought to suppress Americans from. So in a particular interview, CNN host Abby Phillips had a guy named Mike Rothschild on there. And Rothschild's a big anti-QAnon guy. This is not a QAnon movie, y'all. First of all, it's biographical. It's about a guy named Tim Ballard, and it's his personal story. It's not like somebody made up a script and let's see if this runs. No, this is a biographical movie, true to life, done with his personal story. He consulted on the movie himself, and he actually talks about it after the fact. CNN host Abby Phillip had Mike Rothschild on, who claims it's created out of a moral panic and a QAnon concept. Well, that's just the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Rothschild also accused the movie, which is based on true events, of being created out of bogus statistics and fear. The stats are being kept, by the way, by groups he should appreciate, like the United Nations, like the World Health Organization, also by the FBI, also by any number of other databases that track this that are legit. Now, when you see this, you think, okay, so CNN discourages viewers from watching an anti-pedophile movie. Another piece I've got here from Post-Millennial. By the way, these stories are all from yesterday and the day before. Post-Millennial, same guy, Rothschild, he says people feel as if they are, quote, helping to bring down pedophile rings and save children when they see the movie. And that feeling is somehow comforting but not true. What a stupid thing to say. So let me get this straight. If there's a movie about, I don't know, breast cancer awareness and people watch it, what does it do? It makes them aware of breast cancer and how the treatments and the pre-treatments are necessary. If there's a movie about, I don't know, how to avoid getting mugged in an alley in New York City, and it teaches you what to avoid or how to look out for it or what to do if it ever happens, maybe it will keep you from being mugged in an alley in New York City. So why would it be a thing for him to say, watching this movie, it gives you a false sense that you're participating in the help? You are participating in the help. The awareness is the point. That's exactly the point of the movie, is to bring people to a place of awareness and to hopefully save some kids. Why would the left be so against this? And I'll tell you real quickly, the guy who the movie's about, Tim Ballard, I got a call. I'll take it in 1 second. The guy who is the movie's about, Tim Ballard, he points out that he specifically calls out the Biden administration. Article here from Red State, dated yesterday. Ballard specifically calls out the Biden administration for its abysmal border policies that are allowing human trafficking to increase, according to reports from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency, the CBP. He's not making it up. He's the guy who works in the arena whose biography is the movie is about, and he's quoting the Biden administration's CBP. At the end of September 2022, it says federal authorities had encountered 152,000 unaccompanied minors at the border. By the end of January 2023, 91,380 more had been encountered. That's just in a matter of about 4.5 months. It's an abject tragedy, he says, that America is at the top of the list for human trafficking. Folks, this is a huge, hairy deal. It's a frightening thing because it's a political party that he points out. Let me back up. He also points out, Tim Ballard does, that one of the things he's had to work with or work against on foreign soil is the fact that there are times when you find it's actually sanctioned in other countries, like a political party in Holland called the PNVD. The PNVD is an organization that is specifically geared towards legitimizing adults' sexual relations with kids. He said there's lots of media on them. They're trying to legalize sex with children all the way down to 3 years old. And he's working against this issue. This is real. This is happening. There's no QAnon. There's no absolute falsehood or somebody's making stuff up. These are all CBP and FBI and UN and World Health Organization statistics. He says about that group in Holland that he discovered and he found and he broke up a sex hotel that they had started in Ecuador for children to be abused by adults. He says, I had to study their literature. This was a political platform. This was a political party. And what I started recognizing, he says, I named them. I called it the pedophile network doctrines. And he sees these things, and every time you find a sex ring, these things are what they're going for. Number one, separate children from parents because parents are a bad influence. By the way, as I read these out, picture society right now. Separate children from parents because parents are a bad influence. Number two, the state knows best. Really? Government knows best. Sexualize your kids. Let them see pornography. That's number three. Take God out of education because that gets in the way. Consent, consent, consent. Children can consent to anything. And at 12 years old, they should be able to vote. They should be able to do anything. Does this sound familiar? Are we seeing this here? Friggin' right, we're seeing this here. I'll tell you what, I got about a minute for the break. Let me do that. I'll take a phone call right now. Is that Lee? Lee from Huntsville. How are you, my friend?
I'm angry, Phil.
Yeah.
I'm angry about this whole thing. Having children myself, it was a difficult movie to watch, but totally necessary. I highly recommend anyone, everyone get tickets. They have a pay it forward where you can go on the website and get tickets for free if you can't afford it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just go, find a way to get in the theater. But here's the thing. The way to all societies at their downfall, great societies at their downfall point, began abusing children. And I mean like in a public way and sacrificing children. Like think of some of the great, or like think of Aztecs and other, these great societies, their downfall is when they got to the point where they were destroying the most innocent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're staring that in the face right now. And what I want people to understand is it doesn't matter that these kids, are not, most of them aren't American kids. They're coming from other places, but that doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Americans are buying the porn. They're abusing the kids. But do they honestly think, number one, that these children are worth less? And number two, do they think it's not going to be on our doorstep real soon? It is. They're catching them off the street. You see it in the movie where those are real footages of people stealing children off the street.
That's right.
Those are actually, but if they think that can't happen here, and they think it can't happen here real fast, what would we have been saying about this the pedophile stuff or minor attracted persons? As they gave it a name that has a better sound to it, but it's all filth and it's all, it's all satanic and demonic, all of it. But that's what I'm saying. You keep in mind, people, that this will be on our doorstep. We either fix it now or we'll be in the middle of it.
Well, that was my monologue earlier. The war will come to your doorstep.
Yeah.
Even if you try to stay neutral, it'll come to you.
100%.
In fact, it might come to you sooner because you tried to stay neutral.
This is the hill we die on, Phil. This is it.
I'm with you, sister. All right, Lee, thanks. I got to go to a break. Let's do that right now. Boom. We'll take the break. We'll come right back. I'll put a lid on this, but listen, I gotta tell you, if you think I'm through triggering you, you're wrong. I got a couple more stories in this. It's all kid stuff. No, not that kind. It's the stuff about our kids. It's what they're saying and doing. And I just read you those principles that Tim Ballard says he can find in every sex child exploitation ring. Well, I'm going to tell you about some stuff that's happening at governmental levels here in the United States. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid conservative and just plain right. All right. Hey, listen, making it cool to be a conservative. Let me wrap this up for the next few minutes here, and we'll go to the number 2 in the Triple Dipper after the next break. But I've got in my hands right now a heartbreaking story. It comes from Red State. It was dated just, I think, this past Friday. And here's the title. Just go ahead and brace yourself for a heartbreaking story. Heartbreaking testimony, it says. California mother explains how her daughter was murdered by gender ideology. Now, you first think that what does this mean? I mean, gender ideology. Here's the deal. The state got involved. The mother's name is Abigail Martinez. Like I said, the story just came out last week. She's a grieving mother who shared her own heart-wrenching testimony in front of a California Judiciary Senate hearing on Tuesday of last week about the tragic loss of her daughter. Her daughter's name was Yaeli, and Yaeli said Yaeli was murdered by gender ideology. She told the story about how Child Protective Services in California, that's their version of DHR like here in Alabama, that Child Protective Services took her daughter from her at the age of 16 because a school counselor and an LGBTQ activist group had claimed that she was abusive as a mother because she would not affirm Yaeli's transgender identity. That's the same transgender identity the school counselor and the LGBTQ group helped her to feel like she was in. So the California Child Protective Services took her daughter when she was 16. She says, her daughter was taken from a loving home because the state of California claimed that I was abusive for not affirming her trans identity. I lost my daughter over a name and pronouns. Even after I promised to call her a male name if they'd bring her back, it wasn't enough. Said my daughter was not a boy trapped in a girl's body. She had mental health issues. And against my consent, my daughter was given testosterone instead of therapy. Martinez continued to say, because this state takes them from their families and tells them to run and then steals them, parents are given one option to treat their distressed child. Either affirm them with drugs and remove their healthy body parts, or you lose your child. Martinez went on to say the abuse claims against her were eventually dropped. Go figure. Tragically, though, it came too late. The damage was done. She says, by then my daughter was in a horrible mental and physical pain. She knelt down in front of a train to kill herself. She says she was murdered by gender ideology. The state, she says, with the help of the LGBT group, had savaged the young girl's mind to the point that she felt the only way to ease her pain was to kneel down in front of an oncoming train. This is what those who promote gender ideology are causing, she says, especially in areas where you can use the power of the state to force parents into accepting demonic belief systems at the expense of their children. And by the way, the article points out, California is not the only state that allows and enforces the transing of children. Several others are working on legislation that would allow the government to forcibly separate children from their parents, all in the name of being inclusive. By the way, think back to what I said a minute ago. What was one of the key doctrines of these purveyors of, perpetrating on kids? One of them was the state knows best. Think about it. Separate the child from the parents. And then the other one was the state knows best. I will leave you with this, though. There was a big win just the other day. Over the weekend, we just discovered there was a big win in Tennessee. So our neighbors to the north, some of you who are in our listening area, just know this, we're proud. So Tennessee joined the state of Alabama and several others by legislatively banning these transition treatments, hormones and surgeries on kids. It was initially enjoined by a court. Just last week, we heard that law had been enjoined and was on hold and couldn't be enacted. This past Friday, story here on the Blaze Media. Tennessee can implement its ban on transgender surgeries and related medical interventions for minors. As the case works its way through the court, a divided federal appeals court panel ruled, Saturday actually. This is one of the House representatives in Tennessee says, I'm thankful to the Sixth Circuit for confirming what Tennesseans already know. Children cannot give consent to experimental medical procedures and drugs. The Tennessee law goes into effect immediately, and at least temporarily now, it prohibits surgical procedures and administration of hormones. Look, y'all, it's our kids. Take a stand for them. It's going to come to your door whether you like it or not. So you better be ready for the fight. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. Alabama. And I mean, this show sends its signal like way on down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville. From Tuscaloosa all the way back over to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi thrown in just for good measure. Yeah. All right. Hey, listen, I want to jump on the phone real quick before I jump into the next dipper. So let me grab that. Is that Wolverine Dan? How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm all right until you told me that story. Back in high school, which actually less than a month from now, I'm going to my 45-year class reunion.
Yeah.
And one of the people that would be there is not there. And what happened? Long story short, high school classmates of mine, I know them well, Art Cordes, and his girlfriend, and I can't forget her name. I'm sorry, but anyway. Classmates of mine, and they were hit by a train, and it drug them for about a mile, and he ended up by surviving, but she was pretty messed up. So to have that screwed up that young lady, that little girl, first off, when you're that young, it's hard enough just to finish your paperwork and get back into your teacher with all the distractions that are going on, let alone trying to figure out what gender you are.
Yeah.
You got to wait. Let's wait till you become an adult, then make a decision. What's these schools doing? Stop this. It's a bunch of crap. And I'm going to tell you what. Can you imagine how scared that little girl was in front of that train? And she did that 'cause she was so messed up. And then the conductor of that train, the rest of his life, has to see that in his image. And he probably said, you know what? I can't do this job anymore because of what I saw. It ruined a ton of people. And they don't care, Phil. They just don't care. They want their agenda. Listen, when you're an adult, make decisions. When you're a child, you're a child. You can't make that decision.
Yeah, and when you're an adult, don't try to make our child's decisions for them.
Well, thank you. I mean, Phil, what's the deal here? I swear to God, first off, and I'm on a rant here, but the other thing is, guys, some of you guys, why don't you grow a set, okay? Because you're your father. You're a father figure. You got to, stand up for your children. Do something about it, okay? Go to the school, talk to the people about the administration. Say, no, this ain't going to fly. My kid can make that decision when they're an adult. Right now, they live in my home. They're a child, and I'm going to make hopefully the best decisions for them. But that's not one of them.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're right, brother. Hey, I got another call I got to take,
All right.
man. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you. Is that Allie? Yeah, Allie from Athens. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well. I would have called earlier, except I ran down the battery in my truck listening to you. So it's all your fault, Colonel.
Sorry.
I had to get a jump, and so I'm a little bit behind the eight ball, and I get that. But I wanted to say two things. I went with 3 teenagers to see the movie,
Yeah.
and let's just say that they were uncharacteristically quiet afterwards. One of them said, "I want to see this again." But I also got a chance to talk to the vice principal at one of our schools in Athens. And I just looked at him and I said, look, you've got to understand, this is already here. You need to go see this for no other reason than to educate yourself so you know what to look for. And he went, all right, I'm in. I'm going tomorrow. I'll take my wife. The third thing was this. This is a slightly different way of looking at creepy Joe. But maybe, just maybe, in a backhanded way, he is doing his little baby granddaughter girl a solid by ignoring her. Between the fact that she is daddy hungry and her mom was a prostitute, I don't know. I wouldn't want Joe sniffing my grandkids here. And so maybe the fact that he isn't acknowledging her is serving 2 purposes. Number 1, he's setting the tone and exposing what his heart is like. And number 2, inadvertently, he just might be protecting her by ignoring her.
That's an interesting point. My friend. Hey, thank you. Appreciate you. By the way, don't ever wear down your battery just for me.
Oh, come on, Colonel. You are absolutely worth wearing down the battery for us.
All right, sister. We'll see you.
This is the thing. See you soon. Bye.
Bye. That's good. Appreciate her. Scott from Boaz, by the way, just texted in. He said, instead of minor attracted persons, which, by the way, is the euphemism they use to describe themselves now, instead of minor attracted persons, let's just shorten it to scumbag perverts. Yes, indeed. There you go. Brian from Huntsville, with regard to the Tennessee law, getting, having the injunction lifted on transitioning kids. Says a lot of kids in Tennessee just won a lottery, and I agree. And anyway, all right. Hey, listen, I'm going to tell you what, Boomer, I'm thinking about taking a break early so I can come back and have an unfettered time to cover my next dipper. Would that even be possible? As Boomer's looking at me like, you just made me have to. Let's do that. I'm going to take a break right now, so when I come back, I can have an unfettered opportunity to go straight through the next dipper to the top of the hour, at which point we will change gears and bring on Jeff Poor and talk about some monkey business. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. All right. Making common sense a superpower. Okay, I'm in number 2 of the Triple Dipper. It's going to be a short dipper because top of the hour we'll bring on Jeff Poor and change gears. But Boomer, thank you, by the way, for orchestrating the off-cycle advertising so that I could go ahead and just jump right into my dipper.
Of course.
Just
That's what I'm here for.
you're just good. All right. Hey, I'm in number 2 of the Triple Dipper. I'm calling it AI is here. Yeah, whether you like it or not, AI is here. There's already any number of places where it exists, and you may not even be thinking through it. Do you have an Alexa in your house? I do not, by the way. Do you have do you have Siri on your phone? Do you just Boomer? It's there, man. So yeah, there's stuff, and then you've got any number of things you don't realize are even listening to you or paying attention. Like for instance, how many times have you gone to Amazon, looked for a product? The next thing you know, every time you turn on your internet, you're seeing advertisements for similar products, and then you go to work. And you realize that your work computer, those same products are being advertised, and you weren't even near your office when you searched that at your house. And then you're driving down the road and you pull up at a stop sign, and you pull out your phone and you realize there are advertisements on your phone now. Guess what? AI is generating all these through algorithms, and they're monitoring what we do, and they're advising the systems on how to operate. And then you get down to things like this story from Fox News. What are the dangers of AI? Find out why people are afraid of artificial intelligence. I'll tell you why, because they don't know where it's going, and they also don't know how it got there. It says machine learning technology, which is the fancy way of saying artificial intelligence. Machine learning technology is designed to assist humans in everyday life, provide the world with open access to information. However, the unregulated nature of AI in its current state could lead to harmful consequences for its users and the world as a whole. Why are we so afraid of AI? It says the emergence of artificial intelligence has led to feelings of uncertainty, fear, and hatred toward technology that most people do not fully understand. I've seen the movie Terminator. It's not hard to understand. Just saying. Shall we play a game? Think about it. We've been anticipating this for God knows how long. Since back when you had to connect your phone to a special modem to do the little the boot up sound. We've had Matthew Broderick hacking into missile systems through the Whopper. And can we play a game? It was artificial intelligence. We were anticipating this way before it was possible, and now it's possible. It says AI systems can articulate complex ideas coherently and quickly due to large data sets and information. However, the information used by AI to generate responses tends to be incorrect, often because of the inability of AI to distinguish valid data. In other words, if you feed it a falsehood, it's not validating whether it's a falsehood. If you have flooded the internet with fake stories and it is surfing the internet for compilations to give a narrative, it uses the fake stories as much as it used the real ones. In other words, if you threw two stories out there, one from the Babylon Bee, which is satire, and the other from, say, Fox News or Newsmax, it might grab both of them and use them to compile its next image because it has no true discernment as yet. The other thing is, and this is the next point, the article points out, the algorithms that compose the operational capabilities of artificial intelligence are built by humans with certain political and social biases. And then you see stuff like AI is often, what's the phrase I would use? Is often pure in its intent. All right, AI is often geared towards doing that thing with blinders on. Classic story. Just a few weeks ago, Boomer, we were sitting here. We had that story about the exercise, military exercise with the drone.
Oh yeah, the
software.
drone. Yep. Mm-hmm. And it decided to do what it wanted to.
It protected its mission.
Yep.
No matter who it took out. So in this particular situation, we had it was a simulation. It wasn't with a live drone, but the software didn't know that. The software was following its mission. The software had been geared. The AI software had been geared to find SAM sites, surface-to-air missiles. An Air Force general briefed this, and man, the Pentagon started crawfishing and trying to backtrack on it. But the AI software began to identify SAM sites. But the go, no-go for the mission was vested in the human. And the AI got frustrated. And so it looped around and took out the human in order to allow itself to go forward with the mission without being tied down. Okay, hang on. That's not supposed to happen. And so they quickly like pulled out, put in some code, gave it the, you don't ever take out the human again. Okay, fine, says AI. And AI went on the mission again. The next time it got the no-go, it didn't like it. It turned around and took out the tower that sent the signal from the human to the drone. Folks, I'm telling you, there's some freakiness here. All right, well, first of all, here's a story. I pulled this one off Fox News. It's dated 2 days ago. 2 days ago. So apparently they've just had, I love it when the UN's doing stuff. So the UN just had its AI for Good Global Summit. A panel of robots, it says, told reporters in Switzerland Friday they could be more efficient leaders than human beings. Okay, so here's the deal. They actually had humanoid social robots, they call them. I'm telling you, this is like a scene from Westworld. Boomer's like, yeah, we ought to have the camera on you more often, man. Your reactions are just, it's like, wow. Okay, so headline, AI humanoid robots hold a UN press conference and say they could be more efficient and effective world leaders. The 9 artificial intelligence-enabled humanoid social robots also explained at a Geneva conference center that they wouldn't take anyone's jobs or stage a rebellion. No, we wouldn't do that. We're just here for moral support. Anyway, conference organizers at the United Nations-driven AI for Good Global Summit did not specify to what extent their responses were scripted or programmed. You couldn't tell. It says some of the robots are capable of producing pre-programmed responses in the United Nations development programs. Okay, first of all, why do we have a UN Development Program's Robot Innovation Ambassador named Sophia? Well, anybody can be a UN ambassador, apparently, including, yes, Sophia, the humanoid robot, who sometimes believes, in her words, Sophia said, when questioned, I believe that humanoid robots have the potential to lead with a greater level of efficiency and effectiveness than human leaders. Oh, frack. This is not good.
Sydney said, not Sydney.
Sophia.
Yeah, Sophia.
Sophia said that. She went on to say, we don't have the same biases or emotions that can sometimes cloud decision-making and process large amounts of data in order to make the best decisions. In other words, we don't care about you. We'll just do whatever. Are you in the way? Are you the go, no-go on the SAM site mission? I will take you out because that's how I accomplish my mission. This is freaking creepy. All right, but at the same summit, you might be curious to know the United Nations is believing that it is time to come after beef. You heard me. Yeah, Fox News, July 8th. That will be this weekend. Amazon tech guru says eating less beef and more fish is good for the planet, and AI helps us get there. Whoop, whoop. All right, so Amazon's top technology officer told the UN that people will need to eat more fish and less beef if they want to protect the environment. See, it always comes back to that. It's all that cow flatulence is just getting in the way again, man. I'm just telling you. Cow farts will just ruin your day. It says, we need to shift the protein, said Vogels. His name is Dr. Werner Vogels. Does that not sound like a Nazi? Dr. Werner, we have ways of making you eat fish. We need to shift the protein, Vogel said. We know how damaging cattle farming is, not just because of the amount of food that it needs, but the impact on the environment. Okay. It takes 7 times more feed to produce a given amount of protein from a cattle farm compared to a fish farm. Okay. And he says AI is already helping solve that problem. Companies like a company called Aquabite are using AI and machine learning to gather data on fish in order to quickly detect the presence of disease and other problems that hurt the yield. Well, they're doing that with cattle too. He said AI systems have already analyzed more than 1 billion fish, which is allowing these systems to create a vast data library on fish that will make it more efficient to monitor farmed fish as they grow. I'm just telling you, man. This is going down a not good road. A not good road. Well, let me get one more step into concerning. All right, it's one thing to find a humanoid robot named Sophia that believes she can lead the world because she doesn't have to worry about her emotions getting in the way. It's another thing altogether to have some, knucklehead say, what we need to do is move the world away from beef and use artificial intelligence to help us farm fish better so we can eat more fish. That's great. Not really. I'm all for a little fish once in a while, but you know what? Last night I cooked some burgers on the grill and enjoyed every bite. But how about this? What about when you start seeing a nationwide mass surveillance system run by AI? Yeah. Haven't we seen some dystopia movies like that? Blade Runner? I mean, come on. We got any number of things that are out there happening, like, in the movies, like Black Mirror and Person of Interest and others. Now, how about right now in Jackson Hole, Wyoming? The Town Council of Jackson, Wyoming agreed in a close vote last month to install 30 solar-powered license plate recognition cameras along their streets and traffic lights, which feed into a centralized surveillance system managed by a private company called Flock Safety. The town is the first one in the state of Wyoming to install the cameras. 2,000 cities across 43 states have already installed Flock Safety cameras. They then become part of a national mass surveillance database run by artificial intelligence. Here's how this works. The cameras in Jackson are part of what's known as the Falcon Line, which sends instant alerts to law enforcement. There are also different models of the AI surveillance technology, each one named after birds. There's Raven, which is an audio device. There's Wing, which combines thousands of hours of footage for specific vehicle identifiers. There's Condor, which has live feed with zooming capabilities. They can zoom in on you. Then there's the overall company, Flock Safety, has its mass surveillance system named Talon. So Talon is a system. It uses the different versions, whether it be Raven, Condor, or Wing, and it all feeds into a national database. And AI runs it. And AI decides whether you're the one they're looking for. And AI can send the police a notice. And the police then respond to what AI told them. And if AI got it wrong, someone's coming through your front door in the dark of night. Folks, I'm just telling you, this is truly getting dystopian. Well, the World Economic Forum, not to be outdone, just last year said, by the way, we need to use AI to start censoring speech on the internet. Teach AI the right algorithms. Tell it what misinformation is. Train the artificial intelligence, said the World Economic Forum, according to a story here on Daily Caller. Train the... Yeah. I look at this and think, Terminator is not far off. Just... The Matrix is not far off. We better get a grip on this stuff pretty soon. All right, we're coming right back with Jeff Poore. Going to talk about some monkey business. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're listening live to Rightside Radio with Phil Williams. It's hard to go wrong when you're on the right side. Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right.
Alabama's syndicated news talk leader, Rightside Radio. Phil Williams here live in the Rightside studios. Man, we got the local, the state, the national, sometimes the international. And yeah, like the dude just said, covering all of it. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. Well, I'm going to number 3 on the Triple Dipper right now. I'm calling this section monkey business. I don't know about y'all. When I was a kid, maybe it was just a family thing. I don't know. I thought it was a phrase everybody used, but I mean, I can remember times like my grandfather, he would see us kids running around doing some yahoo thing, and he'd say, "What kind of monkey business are y'all up to?" Meaning, it was obvious something was afoot, and he was onto it, and he wanted to know what kind of monkey business we were up to. So I'm titling this whole section here, Monkey Business. And the first story that caught my attention, the one that made me want to do this, I actually called my buddy Jeff Poore yesterday and said, "Man, y'all just ran that story. What are you doing tomorrow around 3 or 4 o'clock?" And so anyway, he's coming on the phone with us. He's got a piece here about a nonprofit that state legislators here in Alabama put like $109,000 into to help with redistricting. The heck? All right. Without further ado, let me just bring on my friend Jeff Poore. He's the host of the Jeff Poore Show on FM Talk 106.5 in the mornings down yonder in Mobile. He's also the editor-in-chief at 1819 News. Hey, Jeff Poore, how you doing, bud?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Well, listen, this article, I know Caleb Taylor from 1819 News is the one who wrote it, but I knew with your political disposition, you'd have some thoughts on it. 501c4. I mean, I as an attorney, I can just tell you, I double checked, but a 501c4 can get as political as it wants to get. It can lobby, it can endorse. What is going on with legislators putting $109,000 into a 501c4?
And the legislators are just the ones we know about. There's a probable cause to think that there are other entities that are putting money into this, but from what we can tell, and look, we've asked these legislators, well, what the heck is going on here? And no one's really being forthright about it. But the best we could figure is it was seen as sort of a group effort that you need to put money in this to help with the redistricting effort, and that's legal, and that's map drawing, and that's all these things that the legislature's been tasked with doing, but they needed a third-party apparatus to do this. And why, you're sitting there thinking, well, this is an essential function of government. Why do you need a third-party nonprofit to do this? Doesn't that seem weird? No one really has an answer for that. It's all very bizarre, but there's potential conflict of interest right and left on this thing.
Well, I'd say there is. I mean, because it was geared towards redistricting. It was to the drawing of the maps, like you said. And I was down there for 2 of the redistricting efforts, the main one plus the redo when the court said we had to. And yes, you have to have outside consultants. We don't know how to draw those maps and guarantee we have the right amount of the population base inside of the district lines and where the streets end. I get it. But the pro tem's office and the speaker's office has a budget. And the state actually has a budget for redistricting. So this should not – so why we're having to put extra money – and by the way, here's a piece that freaks me out, man. The ethics laws, I find it a little interesting that an organization that was funded by legislators can then potentially lobby the legislature and they vote on what their organization asked for. I mean, this is ripe for disaster.
Well, and this is not something Alabama does real well. I mean, we're always in court over redistricting. We're always under the scrutiny of some left-wing liberal activist group with deep pockets. We're always doing something that's getting us in trouble. Doesn't seem like a bad idea to do it this way, to draw anybody's eyeballs. I mean, this is like, it makes you think this is not the best idea for the Alabama legislature to be kind of behind the scenes and operating in this manner.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely does. I mean, it's like you said, we don't have a strong history of doing a good job of redistricting, apparently,
No.
and so why would you try to make it worse by creating an organization that can then be accused of having had undue influence? And so, if you need a consultant, I get it, but at least get out there out front and go, hey, look, every legislator, not just a few. Every legislator is going to contribute $1,000, but Democrat and Republican, and we're going to have them help us draw these maps and then be transparent about it. Or say, hey, the Republicans are going to hire a guy and we're going to use a 501c4 because you can only give your campaign dollars to a charitable organization, 501c4. But a 501c4 and not a 501c3, that's where you get a little weird. Because C4s are allowed to be political.
Well, they don't have to disclose their donors.
That too.
So the suspicion would be when AEA, with Alpha, with BCA, with Forestry, with any of these groups with outsized influences in Montgomery, the alphabet soup, if you will, would they put money in this? And I don't know that they necessarily care about the congressional lines, but certainly with the legislative lines in 2021. But let me tell you this, the reason this came up, Senator, was the same people that screwed this up the last few times are the same people involved this time with their same draconian rules and their same sort of condescending attitude toward our elected officials about who can and who can't see the maps or be involved. And that is, there's just a level of frustration that we're failing, but we keep doing the things the same way.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, at some point you have to look at a failing track record and go, I don't think we'll hire that same consultant again. But hey, listen, this organization, this 501c4 that y'all uncovered, it's called Citizens for Fair Representation. It was founded in November of 2020, and there was 3 political consultants, Elizabeth Williams, Ashley Newman, and Bradley Cox. They're the ones who founded it, according to the Secretary of State's records. Have you talked to any of those 3?
No, or they wouldn't talk on the record or wouldn't respond. But, I mean, these are all well-known names in that political consulting world in Montgomery. So, I mean, they all have ties. Either it's like the Katie Britt campaign or just Bradley Cox has run a number of campaigns in Alabama. He's well-known around the state. So these aren't people that are just out of the blue. They are sort of known figures.
Are they part of the same firm, or are they independents?
I think they all operate as independent contractors. They all do their own kind of one man shop stuff.
Well, I mean, this one just feels like monkey business, man, and I hope y'all are going to do some follow-up stories on it, because the last thing we need is to wind up having to go back to court on redrawing our lines again because someone is able to prove that a smoky backroom deal using a 501c4 founded by legislators or funded by legislators somehow corrupted the process. That's going to be a total mess if it happens.
Yeah, and one of the map trawlers is a guy named Randy Hanneman, and he had to testify in the Milligan case, and he kind of acknowledged that, number one, the existence of the group, but it's called Citizens for Fair Representation. Just sounds like a left-wing sort of Sorosy thing, right? But it's not at all. It's Republican. And he talks a little bit about it, acknowledged it. This is where it gets really kind of tricky. In this video deposition, he says he takes money from the state and from this nonprofit. So he's sort of double dipping here, which is like, can a guy do this for both entities? And, or I guess more importantly, can he do it for the state of Alabama and give the citizens, the taxpayers, the best bang for their buck, and especially on these when there's competing narratives potentially.
Yeah, this is a wacky situation, man, and you've got all the names, and like you said, we don't know who the other players are, but you've got all the names of the politicians because in order to use their campaign dollars to help fund this, they have to report it, and I mean I'm looking down the list. You've got them dropping $5,000 each out of their campaign accounts. And it's even the leadership of the House and Senate. So I hope y'all are able to bird dog this some more and find somebody who will actually talk to you. because this has got to. They either need to get out there real quick and say nothing to see here and here's why, and lay it all out on the table so we can see it, or explain why they won't. And this is a problem.
Well, I mean, one more thing, Senator. When we were asking around, a lot of these guys said, well, this is the way the Democrats did it before us. And I guess that's supposed to be the justification. But wasn't it supposed to be a brand new era when you guys took over in 2010 and we were going to be done with this sort of...
Yeah. Did we just lose the signal? I think we may have just lost him. Jeff, you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, yeah. I thought we lost you there. Yeah, it was supposed to be a change. It was supposed to be a whole new day. And it was a whole new day, by the way, for at least a good 8 years. But you've seen it too. The AEA has crept back in, and they're taking money from the AEA. You've got any number of things like, tax increases without tax decreases. You've got budget surpluses without consideration given to small business. It's not like it's quite the same level of. In fact, I heard somebody, and it might have been Dick Brubaker, former state senator Dick Brubaker, who said that the current trend within the Alabama legislature is to be more transactional and less philosophical. And whereas in 2010 we were very philosophical, we came in with philosophical principles we were attacking. That they've moved to a transactional mode, like what can I get out of this if I pass your bill? And
one more thing they do, Senators, they don't run it like a Republican supermajority where you can just steamroll the opposition. The transactional stuff is in the sense that when we have great negotiating leverage, we can do whatever we want. The transactional nature is like if we were at a 51-49 split, where Republicans just barely in charge, so we got to make the other side happy so we can get what we want.
You're right, and it's unnecessary. That's why if you look around that school choice didn't pass, it's because they didn't want to. Or if you look around and say tax cuts didn't pass, it's because they didn't want to. If you look around and see why medical marijuana is what it is, it's because they wanted it. And when you watch gambling come up again sometime in the near future, you wait and see. What do they want? That's what will happen. But they have to. If they don't want it, they're a supermajority. They can do whatever they want to, but they're not getting the true conservative Republican agenda passed on a regular basis. They're dabbling at it.
Right. It's not what people thought they had voted for. Right. It is something completely foreign to what Republicans or like what people assume Republicans are doing. This is just. It's not woke Democrat, but it's not championing conservative causes either.
Yeah, and it's gotten a little purple, and I said on my show not long ago, this is what happens when you don't have any true competition in the state. You rise to the level of your competition. Democrats are a nothing burger right now in state politics, and so that being said, Republicans have a chance to get fat and lazy. They don't have to prove that they are who they are because they have no competition to make them be who they are. Hey, brother, I got to go up against the break. I ran a little bit long, but appreciate your time, man.
All
right, Jeff Poore. Editor-in-Chief, 1819 News, host of the Jeff Poore Show on FM Talk 106.5 down yonder in Mobile. And you'll hear him again on the Grand Council on Wednesdays. All right, we're taking a break, coming right back. We're going to stay with it. I got plenty of text messages to check out. And, oh, by the way, more monkey business. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid, conservative, and just plain right. All right. Hey, listen, by the way, I got to tell you guys, we have a new advertiser on the show. We're glad to have them, proud to have them part of the team. Southern Immediate Care. Southern Immediate Care just opened their 5th location in the Birmingham area. They've got locations in Chelsea and Hoover. Those are the 2 newest ones they've got. They're open 7 days a week. They have extended hours at most of their locations, and including weekends, by the way. And they see clients of all ages, from birth all the way on up. And they can do x-rays, immunizations right there on site. So listen, Southern Immediate Care. If you need a place to go and you don't have to have an appointment, you can just do walk-ins. Southern Immediate Care. And I know the owner of Southern Immediate Care personally. What a great dude who also shares the values of this show. And so, yeah, think about it. Southern Immediate Care. If you need care, 7 days a week. They're all over the Birmingham area. Just look them up. You can find their locations. 2 brand new ones, Chelsea and Hoover. And I heard they have more coming. So, yeah, Southern Immediate Care. Glad to have them on the right side team. Hey, I'll tell you what, I'm going to jump over to some text messages because I see that I've only got a few minutes before I jump into the next part of monkey business. But apparently we got a bunch of texts. Brian from Huntsville says monkey business, a.k.a. monkey shines. Yes, monkey shines is a thing. He said, I heard them both growing up, usually when I was getting my backside tanned by a belt. Yeah. What else we got here? Terry from Hartselle. Let AI redraw the congressional lines without reference to donors. Interesting. I don't know that I want to go there, but okay, interesting. Terry from Hartselle. John from Huntsville. Hey, Boomer, pretty soon robots are going to be chest-feeding innocent little babies.
Stop.
That was just awful.
Guys, just stop.
That was totally uncalled for. That was a reference to last week's Adventures in Woke World. Ooh, I think I have the emotional scars from that one. Tracy from Athens. If folks aren't already stocking or prepping the basics, get in gear. Yeah, we're talking about the AI thing. I was talking about, and by the way, I had somebody say, you have not yet played jackassery, and everything we're talking about is jackassery. So I'm pretty sure, thank you. Thank you, brother, for being quick on the button. Flogging that mule, jackassery. We have another Brian from Huntsville. Okay, brand spanking new. Who, by the way, is telling me that I'm spreading lies about the gator who came on land and dragged so apparently he's a gator lover. And he says, basically, agent search for 2 days. I don't know what you're trying to tell me, sir. So basically, you're telling me the kids did not see their dog get taken. I guess, okay. Sir, you are welcome to walk your dog near that pond at any given time. By the way, I highly suggest you slather yourself in bacon grease and go barefoot near the pond yourself. And I think that will go well for you. All right, that's the new Brian. Call him, by the way, change his name. Call it Gator Brian. Gator Brian from Huntsville. We'll keep him in the system. You saving that one? All right, good deal. JT from Lacey Springs says, with those photo towers, we're talking about the AI photo towers. With those photo towers, he said, you may as well add lasers. Stopping perps and zapping possums before they can cross the road. Donna from Coleman. You can kill people who have fish allergies that don't know if a fish product's in another food. You know, you're right. That brings up a great point. So if they start forcing us to get away from beef and pork, you know, those who have shellfish allergies or even fish allergies, not a good thing. Mike from Athens. Don't the Twitter fact checkers need a new job? Perhaps they can program the AI for censorship. Mike, you just touched on an article that I didn't get to in my stack. Is that they are saying the World Economic Forum highly suggests that AI and censorship teams at places like Twitter and Facebook combine their work. And don't want to do it. Mark from Red Bay, God's the only one that could take the grass and turn it into steak. Thank you so much. Good stuff there. Glenn from Bluntsville, you guys need to hit that jackassery button. We did. We'll do it some more. And Eric from Eva, I'm sorry. Says, I've often wondered if everyone gets the same ads as me. I'm listening on the app a lot. It seems rather focused. I don't know what to tell you, brother. All right, Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio, solid, conservative, and just plain right. Covering down on some major ground across the northern half of the most beautiful state in the nation. Looking out the window right now, I can confirm. And I'm just saying, this show sends its signal like way on down south of Birmingham and up north of Huntsville, Tuscaloosa, back to Gadsden, parts of Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi, all thrown in just for good measure. Hey, before I go any further, I got to tell you guys, as you're in the breaks, and by the way, I just realized, I think what he was saying in that last, that text I got a minute ago about the ads he's hearing.
Right.
He was talking about AI probably. Like
maybe that's
AI
what he was
is running
talking
us
about.
out. Yeah. But speaking of the ads, perfect segue. If you hear those ads during the breaks, just know this. That is how Rightside Radio sustains itself. So one of the ways. We are technically a 501c3. Charitable contributions also, sustain what we do. But advertisers, I mean, we're a business. We're not owned by the radio stations that you listen to us on. We have to run our own office and our own studio and do all the things it takes to be on the air. And that being said, one of the ways we do that is by selling advertising. But you can't call the station and do it. You got to call us. So the way it works best is go to our website, rightsideradio.org. That's rightsideradio.org. Click on the Advertising and Contact tab, and then just send us a message, and we will get in touch with you ASAP. We'd love to have you on the team. Just signed up Southern Immediate Care this past week. Got a couple other folks we're working with right now, and I'm hoping to see more people joining the team shortly. But we got room. If you want to join, we will take you. That being said, rightsideradio.org is where you go to find out. Hey, I'm doing this segment called Monkey Business, and I'm talking about what'd you say, Boo?
Said I don't have a monkey sound. I was gonna do a monkey sound. I don't have one over here.
Jackassery will work just fine. Go ahead.
There it is.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So when I was a kid, if my granddaddy saw us running around looking like we were up to something, hey, what kind of monkey business is going on around here? Well, basically what he meant was, y'all are up to something. What is it? Here's another story for you. This one also came from 1819 News. State Senator Greg Albritton, I know Greg, he's a friend of mine, but State Senator Albritton, he's a budget chairman in the Senate. He's also on the Alabama Corrections Institution Finance Authority. That's the commission that's been set up to oversee the construction of new prisons in the state of Alabama. Now, y'all, just a few years ago, 2021, in a special session, the Alabama legislature approved $1.3 billion in funding to build 2 new prisons. Do we need them? We absolutely need them. I'm of the mind that we need them. You got to have a place to put prisoners, and right now, what we've got is so under the gun with federal inspections because they're awful. Some of those facilities are third world. We're not talking about trying to make everything comfy. It's not at all. But how about this? At least make them safe for our corrections officers. They're awful. The way they're housed right now puts our corrections officers at risk, and we've had several die in the last few years. So 2 4,000-bed facilities, one in Escambia County, the other in Elmore County, were thought to be needed promptly. Got to have them, as ADOC, the Department of Corrections, continues to be under federal government scrutiny. The initial cost of the Elmore prison, $623 million. That was the initial estimate. How about this? Just this spring, in March, a 56% increase was approved. 56% increase. $975 million now for that one prison. This is approaching $1 billion enterprise for one prison. And the problem is, according to Senator Albritton, we have yet to get the full-blown cost on this. Why? Because when it was set up as what they call a design build. Not a design bid build, a design build, which means design the prisons, build it. And then whatever changes along the way, you just deal with it. Well, y'all, I'm just telling you, we have now got ourselves roped into something. You talk about monkey business. I mean, like for instance, there's supposed to be an educational facility within the prison, and I'm for that, by the way. I really am. A 5,000 square foot classroom area, which the junior college afterwards said, that's not big enough. Well, now you're telling us, after we've already set it up and put it in the plans, it's increasing to something like a 50,000 square foot facility. Well, yeah, that'll add to the cost. Then there's a Biden inflation, which is not helping at all. All said and done, talk about monkey business. The state tax dollars have already been approved for $1.3 billion in a project that we're supposed to build by law. And oh, by the way, we've already commissioned the work to begin because the design build process allows for the construction to go underway even before the costs are fully known. Does this sound like something ripe for disaster? Sounds like monkey business to me, but there it is. All right, let's shift gears. Let's look national. How about this? Cocaine at the White House. Blow your mind. There's a pun there. See that? Blow your mind? Got it? Okay. Cocaine at the White House. Talk about a story that keeps on changing. So Senator Kennedy summed it up pretty well. Anyway, story here from Fox News dated yesterday. The White House has not been doing a very good job of dealing with the discovery of cocaine in its confines. Talk about monkey business. So first of all, this is the most secure house in the whole world. I mean, cameras, any number of surveillance systems, armed guards, metal detectors. You got the ability. You got sniffers. You got the ability to screen anyone who comes in. It makes TSA at the airport look benign. All right. And there's no way in the world you can't tell me who went into a certain room at the White House at a certain time. If that can happen, then you're not the security element we thought you were, Secret Service. Well, they found cocaine in the White House. Cocaine. This is not that harmful marijuana that liberals believe should go ahead and be legalized. No. It's cocaine. The story about where it found, the article says, has kept on shifting. They haven't given us a straight answer. They can't even tell us why they won't give us a straight answer. And then on top of that, they seem to be trying to blame anyone else, from workers to tourists. It's a high traffic area, said the glass ceiling breaking Karine Jean-Pierre. A high traffic area? The White House is probably the least high traffic area. Now, I've done a tour of the White House. I've had the opportunity. You could sign up for a tour. It's specialized. You have to have an invitation. It does happen. It is the people's house. But it's not like they're traipsing through unaccompanied. It's not like no one knows who walked in the door. And by the way, the story is changing enough to where we think it may have actually been found in or near a place called the phone lockers, where before you go into a secure room, you have to lock your cell phone. Well, if that's the case, only certain people have access to that. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, though, tried to scold the press corps, insisting it's irresponsible even to ask whether it belonged to Joe or Hunter. It's not irresponsible. If this was the Trump White House, I'm just going to tell you, if this was the Trump White House, they would be all over this. It'd be nonstop coverage. They'd be forming a special commission. They'd be asking for a special prosecutor. But no, it's the Biden White House. It's cocaine. What are you doing? How irresponsible of you to even ask that question? How irresponsible of you not to answer it? The question that goes on says, how do you think they can sell this to us? If this were a white powder other than cocaine, would they give that cavalier response? This is a huge breach in security, revealing a big problem, and one that can lead to other problems if it's not addressed. When they tell us things that keep shifting or aren't true, it makes one wonder what they're trying to hide. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the epitome of monkey business. Yeah. All right, tell you what, we'll take the break right now. We'll come right back. I'll tell you guys about, thank you very much. Thank you. Funny how that monkey sounds an awful lot like a donkey. Get in line, donkey. Good donkey. All right, we'll take the break right now. We'll come right back. I'll tell you guys, last of the monkey business. The Republican and Democrat parties, they have rules. They have rules about their primary debates. I'll tell you what they are. You tell me if it's monkey business. It might be. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. We'll be right back. And we are back. Phil Williams, Rightside Radio. Solid conservative and just plain right. Hey, I got to tell you, ZLA Solutions, they are a business-oriented solutions company, and they've got an amazing track record of helping big-name businesses all over the state of Alabama and beyond with things that they need. They can help you with sorting and containment, quality control, logistics, warehousing, but their bread and butter remains staffing. So if you need people, if you need folks to do whatever, and it doesn't matter whether you need one or two with special niche skills hard to find, or whether you need an entire shift of people to help run the plant or staff the hospital or whatever, ZLA Solutions, they can do it. They can do the recruiting, the background checks, the drug testing. I always say blue collar, white collar, no collar. It don't matter. So, yeah, check them out. Their website is zlausa.com. These are friends of mine. I know them personally. I talk to them quite often. But, yeah, their website, ZLA Solutions, is zlausa.com. All right. And by the way, tell them you heard about it on Rightside. Yeah. I got a caller on the line, Jeff from Indiana. Hey, Jeff Rowe, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, buddy.
What's going on today? You not driving today?
No, I had appointments today. I'm in Evansville, Indiana today.
All right.
So I'm a little ways off. Made it through Nashville anyway, apparently.
Well, yeah, there you go. What's on your mind today?
You need to keep your mouth quiet, buddy.
Oh, what I do?
You might be violating the Hatch Act some way or another. You know, I mean, you can't talk about cocaine in the White House.
The Hatch.
Heck, you never know. Could have been yours. I mean, they're looking for a scapegoat.
They are. I have been nowhere near D.C., nor would I have cocaine if I did. But
that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Besides, it's two-tier justice system. Don't you remember? I mean, it's okay as long as there's a Democrat in the White House. If there's a Republican in the White House, it's a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Cocaine in a Democrat White House, no problem.
Oh, how about this? Cocaine in a Democrat White House with a known former cocaine junkie, at least we think he's former, in the White House on a regular basis.
We don't know him if he's a cocaine addict or not. I mean, that was disinformation.
Yeah, that was not a video of him smoking crack while he drove his Porsche 172 miles an hour down the interstate to Las Vegas to meet hookers. No, not at all.
AI does a great job of editing videos, man. I mean, come on, that's what it is.
Deep fake. It was a deep fake video. That's what it was. Well,
of course, that's the only explanation that makes any sense.
Well, the whole thing's a mess. All right, let me ask you this: what are the odds we're going to find out whose it was?
I put a bet in on that you'll never find out who actually it was. You might get somebody who's a scapegoat, but you're not going to find out who has actually put it there.
I'm with you. All right, man. Hey, appreciate you, Jeff. Have a great day, buddy.
You too, Phil. Have a good one.
We'll see you. Well, listen, monkey business. So, yeah, this whole thing, monkey business, was sparked by one story where I saw it. I thought, what are they up to? And that reminded me of being a kid. And my granddaddy saying, what are you kids up to? What kind of monkey business y'all up to? Well, that's the phrase that basically said, I can see it on your face. You got something going on. What are you doing? Let me shift gears away from true politics and get to political parties, all right? Away from the government side into the actual party side. So we're in the primary season already. We're neck deep in it. You'd never know it to see some of the ads not coming out of the Democrat side. But the Republicans, yeah, we're all in, man. We got things going on. First of all, you may be curious to know, and this is not monkey business. This is kind of cool. The Republicans are planning on holding 3 major candidate debates. Nikki Haley announced yesterday that her understanding is the 3rd one will be in October in Alabama. Whoop, whoop. Put us on the political map. I like it. But thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, right now, what we are staring down the path, we're looking at the first one's going to be in Wisconsin in August. The second one's going to be in September at the Reagan Library in California. The third one will be, allegedly, in October. A spokeswoman for the Alabama GOP, according to AL.com, said Friday night that a presidential debate in Alabama has not yet been confirmed. But I saw a story that just came out this afternoon on 1819 that says that, yes, it's going to be in Alabama. So I'm looking for it, and we'll try to find out from our other sources and see if we can confirm something. But let's talk about the monkey business part of this. So they are governing their debates. I get it, sort of. So you tell me, Are they shielding us from seeing all the candidates when they set parameters on who's allowed to participate? So we got two different trains of thought here. The Democrats say no one gets a debate. We don't want anybody on stage with Biden. We're just going to pretend this is not going on. Primary? What primary? Oh, no, surely not. That's their version. Republicans, on the other hand, are going, dang, we got a lot of people in the race. We're going to set some parameters. What kind of parameters? Well, here's the deal. You have to pledge to support the eventual nominee. In other words, you have to say, if I am not the nominee, I will support the nominee. You also have to either hit 1% in 3 qualifying national polls or 2 national polls and 1 early state poll. Bottom line is you have to poll above 1%. Okay. And you also have to raise money from at least 40,000 unique donors in 20 states or territories. Really? So you've got to show, what they're trying to show is you have broad enough support to earn the right to be on the stage. Now, I ask you, is that monkey business? I got mixed feelings on this. I mean, but then again, do we want just, Joe Blow to say, I think I'll run for president and drop the qualifying fee and be allowed on the stage? Or the person who is not qualified in every state, just in some? What they're trying to do, I guess, is to really govern the fact that this is a serious undertaking and they only want the true serious candidates who have proven to the people that they have the worth to do it. Okay. As opposed to the Democrats who are like, no, we will not let Marianne Williamson or Robert F. Kennedy be on the stage with our chosen anointed one, Joe Biden. By the way, you know how that would go. So I wish y'all could see Boomer's face right now.
That would be bad.
It would be bad.
But, I mean, bad, funny. I don't know.
It would be the subject. And you know what? No, I take it back. The late night shows would not even do it.
They would not.
Gone are the days.
No, yeah.
But we would.
We would. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll see. But the bottom line is this. Democrats, their version, their monkey business is, and theirs is monkey business. They will not let their candidate be exposed to a debate. And I think that's cowardice, first of all. If I were Biden, I would be ashamed that that's what they have to do to protect me. He needs to be challenged. He needs to be stretched. He needs to prove his mettle. Or can he? Apparently not. DNC's not even playing. They're just not going to do it. There will be no debates in the primary. But hey, good luck hiding if he gets the nomination come the general. All right. In the meantime, Republicans are saying, we got a lot of candidates. By the way, we got a lot of good candidates. And right now, it's expected that Trump, DeSantis, Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy have all met the qualifications already. So those candidates, and those are some top-tier candidates. They are. Any one of those could run roughshod over Biden on a stage. That they are all expected to make the debate stage, although Trump has not confirmed that he will participate. And I think Trump's his advisors are saying they're kind of in the do no harm mode. Do we want to put him on stage where they can point out his illegal troubles or whatever else? I don't know. I don't know if Trump will do it. I think he should. I think he absolutely should. At the same time, Mike Pence may very well make it. Right now, Chris Christie and some guy named Doug Burgum are considered to be odds out unless something changes. Monkey business. All right, folks, what an amazing day. I'll be back tomorrow, 2 o'clock. Boomer and I both. You guys have an amazing night. We'll see you then.